Let's talk about talent. It's one of your favorite subjects. It's a big chunk of the book and your other books. And as a business owner, being a recruiter of top talent, just as a sports team would be a scout and recruiter of top talent, you are your roster, getting the best people on your team and then developing them. There's two different things there. You have a very people-first message.
Yep. Well,
and have for a long time.
The tie-in between that and the last remarks is, if you will allow me, let's go back to the Albany airport, okay? How does Southwest Airlines hire? Colleen Barrett was the president of Southwest. She began Southwest as a secretary and ended up as president. And she said, we hire for listening, caring, smiling, saying thank you, and being warm. And she immediately added to that, that is at least as important in our hiring decisions of mechanics and pilots as it is for the people who are the flight attendants or the people at the front desk. I just can't believe some of this stuff. When I come across these examples, because they are so obvious and so right. And obviously, when you hire for listening, caring, smiling, saying thank you, and being warm, you're not exactly neglecting technical skills, because if you think you are, remember the woman who landed the damn Southwest Airlines plane about a week and a half ago against all odds. They're putting her in the Sully League, fundamentally, in terms of what she did. So I'm not denigrating technical skills. What I'm saying, which is Larry's question, is there's no reason that you can't fly a plane well and be listening, caring, smiling, saying thank you, and being warm. And just to reinforce that, there is an example that I use in the book about a guy who is the CEO of a middle-sized pharmaceutical company. And pharmaceutical companies and sweetness and light are not in the same sentence normally. But he says, this is his language. He said, we only hire nice people. We only hire nice people. He said, guess what? There are actually a lot of microbiologists with PhDs who are nice. Don't hire the jerks. Don't hire the jerks. And so you interview with me, the CEO. You watch the slobber coming down the side of my mouth as you describe the technical skills that you have. And so you and I have an interview, and I am dying to hire you. But we have a thing at the company, and the thing is you have to run the gauntlet. And running the gauntlet means that you will have 15 interviews. You will have 15 interviews with another scientist, with a junior person in the accounting department, with a receptionist, and every one of those 15 people has the ability to veto your hiring. And his comment is, relative to the culture that we are trying to instill in this company, which is a culture of cooperation and mutual support, relative to that culture, we cannot afford to have one bad apple in the barrel. And that's an organization, I think, with 75 or 100 employees at this point. But I just kind of love the idea. I mean, it's one thing maybe in some settings, but this is a place where, these bloody Stanford PhDs in computer science start at what are they when they graduate? 9 years old, and they start at $150,000. And it's just absurd. But,
well,
I mean, the other thing you have to let me say, one more thing. In the book, maybe two, in the book, I designate something as the number one investment that a company makes. And God alone knows it applies to every human being in this organization. The number one investment is training. Training, 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 training. There's that old one-liner, if you train them, they'll leave. Well, Richard Branson, the crazy British entrepreneur, has a different version of that. He said, you train them so that they can leave, and you treat them so that they don't want to leave. And, and particularly as the world turns and complexity comes in, I believe that, in fact, organizations have a moral responsibility to develop the people who work for them. Because, the funny thing about business, there's this horrible thing, and people who do what I do and write books are, we act as if the only thing that exists in the world is the Fortune 100 companies. As one guy said, business is not part of the community. Business is the community. The great majority of your and my fellow American or fellow Canadian citizens love their families as much as they might, God bless them, will spend the majority of their waking hours as an adult in a business. And so we're talking about responsibility for lives. And the thing that I really feel so strongly about, every single one of us who has a business in this room, with 7, 17, 27, 117, whatever number of employees, we are dramatically important community members. I mean, that's part of the deal. And to behave that way, in part in my mind, right at the top of the list, is if you go to work for me for 6 months, if 6 years or 6 months or 4 months, I have a moral obligation for you to walk out the door better trained and better prepared for the future than when you got here 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years ago. I have a moral responsibility to my community and to my country to make sure that's the case. And so as I said, words like moral or spiritual or that sort of thing don't come easily out of my old engineer's Navy man's mouth. But it's a different time and a different situation. And the other great news is, it makes you feel good about yourself. I have a slide I use. It's a picture of a tombstone. And the tombstone says, Joe Smith, 1942 to 2018, net worth $26,417,218.04 when the market closed, the day he died. Ever seen a tombstone like that? Tombstones don't have net worths. I know better than most. My ex-wife's father did stone tombstones in northwest Missouri, so I'm a tombstone guy. And I've seen a lot of them. But what do we say? There was this tough journalist in D.C. His name was Tim Russert. And when he died, Ronald Reagan's chief speechwriter, Peggy Noonan, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, did a little piece on him. And she said, people say they care about wealth, but they really don't. People say they care about fame, but they really don't. At the end of the day, they say, Joe, how did he treat people? And, that's a daily business concern as far as I'm concerned. And the wonderful news is I keep saying in the book, and by the way, yawn, it's also the best damn way in the world to make money. It's not an anti-capitalist comment. It is as pro-capitalist as it comes. Develop people, leave incredible impressions in customers' minds, and you will have pleasant trips to the bank. And then we'll tell you someday, if we have more time to talk, about the bank that in its annual report reports that it gave away 2 million dog biscuits. And in an era where banks are closing branches and throwing people out on the street, these guys have hired 17,000 people and given away 2 years ago 2 million dog biscuits. Now that belongs in an annual report.